Hello, everybody. Hello. Chef Anita here. Finally going live after some technical issues in the house. Hi, guys. Chef Anita here. Just rinsing off some of our root vegetables for tonight's dinner. Okay, what am I making for you guys today? I am making a beef stew, but it's more of a sancocho, not necessarily a beef stew. There is beef in it, gorgeous beef from the butcher here in Nicaragua, but it's going to be in a Puerto Rican style in terms of the kind of root vegetables that are incorporated into the beef stew. Now, in Puerto Rico, we do sancochos where we kind of put all of the verduras, which are the root vegetables, and the spices with a broth inside of a pan. That's what I'm going to do today. That is what the family wanted, but definitely the husband needed more protein-fueled sancocho or beef stew, which is more than just the beef that I already showed you. So I went into town into this beautiful, organic, sustainable little market, and they had some bone marrow. Bone marrow. And when I saw this, tuétano de res, which is what it's called here in Nicaragua, I immediately became super excited because I knew that I would be able to roast this off a little bit and put it into the pan with this beef stew, which will give my husband that protein-fueled meal that he's always looking for. Now, typically, I roast this hard and fast so that all of that fat just kind of melts down into that beautiful whatever dish I'm making. Typically, I serve it with crostino and a jam on the side, but today what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack this open. I'm going to grab one of these guys and I'm going to roast it and then steep it into the beef stew. So here we are with the actual tap sirloin, which was just like seriously sliced off right there at the butcher shop. The flavor lineup will definitely include some fresh vegetables from here in Nicaragua. We have a mirepoix of celery and onion and carrot with potato, but we also have some fresh corn, some yuca right here, and we have some plum Roma tomatoes and the onion, celery. Here's the carrot. These things grow wild everywhere around here. And then we have some beautiful potatoes as well. So I'm super excited about it. And then also a little ginger because it's just that extra boost of digestive cleansing kind of nutrient that you want in a braise. So I'm just going to show you the steps leading all the way up to the braising part. The braise is going to take about 2.5 to 3 hours based on the amount of meat that I have here. So I'll definitely photograph it and show it to you after it's done. Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing out there? Hello, thank you for joining. Just Chef Anita here, finally back, showing you a dinner at home. And we're just going to make this really quick up to the point where we're going to braise, like I said. And then we are just going to log off, and then I will photograph and show you the finished product once it is done. Thank you so much for the likes. Thank you for being here. I'm literally wearing a jean jacket in about 100-degree heat because we want to be appropriate for TikTok and not expose anything that is not. So here we go. Okay, so the fire is going. I have the oven definitely going at full blast right now because I want to put that bone marrow, which I am going to, like I said, I'm going to steep a whole bone marrow bone here into this bone broth beef stew, this sancocho. I want to bring that extra protein, that extra collagen into this beef stew. And because I have not had the opportunity to make a demi-glace or any kind of bone broth here, solely based on the fact that for the last 2 days we didn't have any water, so we've been eating out a lot. But today, after seeing this ingredient, I knew where we were gonna live. So here we go. Let me grab my knife real quick. Chef knife. That is a Mac. That is one of the first knives that I ever purchased, and it's still here with me. This is about, oh goodness, I think this is about 10 years later after I purchased this Mac chef knife. It's the 8-inch. It's absolutely amazing. So we're gonna crack this cryovac open. And I'm going to grab the biggest one, which is this one here. The fire is going. The oven is going. And this is beef, bone marrow. So all of this is literally going to get steeped into this beef stew. The bone is going to give it additional flavor, additional collagen, and then that bone marrow is also going to bring in all of that extra protein and collagen and flavor and fat, good fat, into this dish. This is going to be amazing. So that's just going to go right in there. The rest of it is going to get put away. So I just kind of want to flip that over just like that, and here is where the beef stew is going to go. Based on the cut of beef that I have, I know that I don't need a really deep pan and a lot of liquid to make this beef really super tender. It's a top sirloin, and like I said, sliced off right there in front of me, and I know that if I slice it or cube it at the right portion, it'll be ready within 2 hours. So the amount of liquid and the amount of mirepoix and root vegetable that I put in there will definitely make a difference in the cook time of that beef. So right now I'm just giving that bone marrow a little bit of a kiss in that pan. And it already smells amazing. My oven has been on for about an hour, and as you can hear, it's sizzling, so we're just going to go right into the oven, and then I'm going to get the actual pot roast pan, lower the temp a little bit. If I can get it lowered without actually turning it off. There we go. So now we start with the mirepoix for the actual pot roast. And typically when I make a pot roast, I cut my vegetables based on how long the braise is going to be for. And if I'm doing a private event, I will cut up my vegetables and then strain the liquid away from the actual short rib or pot roast or whatever it is that I'm doing. Today, I'm going to decide solely based on when the actual braising process has finished. I want to see how much fat comes off of that top sirloin, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to leave the root vegetables and the mirepoix in there. But I think it's just going to be a straight through and through sancocho where we just eat in a bowl all of these root vegetables and all of these beautiful ingredients all at once without worrying about straining anything away. because that definitely takes away from the flavor if you're not careful. So that's why I make sure and let everything cook at its own time, giving it that time to sweat, giving it that time to braise, making the proper cuts so nothing gets mushy. So then when I serve it in a giant bowl, people just love it. They just go to town on this and they love it. So carrots are done. I'm gonna put the potatoes in last because those definitely cook up a lot quicker. So the carrots are in their shape, and based on the shape, I go in and slice it according to plan. So I'm going to put those aside. I can grab all of those. And I use ginger because, like I said, it's a digestif, or however you want to say it. It's just gut friendly. It's delicious. It brings a different element of flavor to your braise, and I can already hear that bone marrow just kind of going to town over there. So I just have those roughly chopped. Those are going to go in with the carrots. I don't put any actual garlic in here simply because it is my family's choice not to have whole garlic unless I do you add a little bit of oil to the pan? No, not necessary. Not necessary. You can, absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm not even paying attention to the commentary. You'll try to listen in. Hi, honey. Thank you so much. I've literally just been sitting here cooking without even paying attention to the commentary. I'm so sorry, to the comments. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the likes already. Goodness. No, I usually do not put any kind of oil down when it comes to the bone marrow. I just want the bone marrow, that fat, to be all on its own. And we're just going to roast it off for a minute and then literally put the whole thing into the pan with the rest of the mirepoix and the beef and everything else. So I tried to find a pan that was big enough to accomplish all of this. The bigger pans here, they are non-stick, but they've been utilized a lot. So if you guys ever see a non-stick pan with, you know, that non-stick Teflon kind of black coating on it, but it's completely scratched, by all means, please do not ever use it because that can actually make you really sick. I did not realize that the pans here were that warped, except for the one that I told you guys about that had like that weird bump in the middle. So this one, the interior is completely intact. So I'm going to attempt to make this beef stew sancocho in this pan. So I got to account for the fact that this pan is a certain size and I got all this beef, but it's okay because if I have extra beef, we can always do something else with it. So here we go. The bone marrow is sounding amazing, by the way. And now we're just going to grab a couple of celery stalks. 1 second. I put together my spice blend and the pepper and everything else that's in here just like maybe super sniffly for some reason. And so I am sniffling a lot, so I apologize for that. I did add a little bit of cayenne, which I love, but as I was cracking all the pepper and everything, it just got like on top of me, so I apologize for sniffling. Okay, so here goes the celery. And then, I tell you, from day to day in the market, whenever I've shown you guys an onion here, there was an onion that was literally about this size. That was the beginning of the dry season. Here we are now at the end of the dry season, and that's what the onion looks like. Like, Yeah. Nicaragua. It's amazing. That's why I love to go to the market literally every day. And the girls there already know who I am. They already know to talk to me. And they go, oh, Chef Anita, what are you cooking today? And sometimes I'll just go in there just to kind of see what's going on. And the last couple of days, I have not been there. Actually, for the last week, I haven't been in there. And they were like, oh my gosh, we didn't know where you were. And literally, it was because our little casita here has had a lot of issues. There was some weird explosion with one of the generators, so we didn't have any water. So my family and I have just been eating out and enjoying Nicaragua. Hold on a second. Let me get that there. There we go. So if you notice, this is all like a very rough chop. I'm not being very precise with it. I just want to make everything as uniform as possible. The carrots were cut a certain size. The celery was cut a certain size. And now the onions have been cut a certain size. Like large. I want to let this braise for as long as possible so that we can extract as much beef flavor as possible. And then when it's already been braising for about an hour and a half, I will go in. That was a weird sound, but it's literally the bone marrow. I will go in with the corn on the cob and the plum Roma tomato. And I also have this beautiful yuca. Look at this. Look at this. That is gorgeous. We could put that right in there and everything will braise together with some tomato paste and the spices, which are basil, oregano, a little bit of tarragon, a little bit of garlic powder, not a lot. We have some paprika, some cayenne, coriander. There is no cumin in this, but there is turmeric. We're trying to keep it as healthy as possible. And then I will also go in there with the potato. I'm just gonna make that into a large dice and just steep it right in there. So then when I serve it, like I said, it's just gonna be a giant bowl of soup, if you will, but more of a stew. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining today. Just hanging out, making dinner at home with Chef Anita here in Nicaragua. So this pan has been going off for a while. The bone marrow has definitely been talking. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing, guys. I can't wait. Okay, so since we have the mirepoix already sliced, I'm gonna go on ahead and slice some of this beef and then start to sear it off in my pan. I mean, there's a lot of different steps that you can take when making a beef stew. A lot of people like to dredge their beef in flour or cornstarch to make it a little bit, you know, more, a little bit of a thicker sauce once it cooks down. But I feel like if you give it its due time, it'll just do that naturally for you. And, oh my gosh, I'm gonna leave this little piece off to the side, and that's gonna become something else tomorrow. So this top sirloin is gorgeous. So we're just gonna slice it straight down the middle. There is, if you can see there, a lot of silver lining of, like, not silver lining, but silver skin going through this top sirloin, which makes sense because the top sirloin is basically this part here, and it starts off at the head and goes down into the shoulder. So from here to here, there's just this connective tissue that you have to be careful of. And you want to definitely cut around that Otherwise, you're going to be left with a very, very tough piece of beef. So I literally just cut that away. See that? That's the silver skin right there. Just cut it away. This bone marrow smells amazing. And the rest of it, I'm just going to cube because this is a beef stew, if you will. But if the beef actually shreds for me, I am okay with that. Look at that. See that? Try and make all your cuts as uniform as possible so everything cooks at the proper time, at the proper temperature, and when you eat it, you don't have like one that's more tender than the other. It just all becomes one uniform dish. And if you really cook this down, if you give it a lot of spice, then you have something that is actually completely different and can be really special. Whenever I would make this dish with a lot of different Puerto Rican spices in it, I would make my own version of a birria taco. And if you guys know what that is or have heard about it, because it's become the new trend at the restaurant, people just would go nuts for it. And definitely putting this into a tortilla with its own fat. And if you're doing that with the bone marrow that's roasting off in the oven right now, I'm telling you, that birria taco is a whole nother level of delicious. So I'm just taking a look at what I have left here. And again, I don't want to overcook. I don't want to undercook. I definitely don't want to make too much of this stew because it's literally just going to be my husband and I. Our daughter, she will have some pieces, but she won't eat a bunch of it. So whatever's left over, I'm just going to do something else with it. And whenever I go to the butcher, he's just like, oh, you're here. Let me give you all this meat. And not charge me for it, which is really kind of cool. See all that? That's a lot of fat and a lot of silver skin you don't want in there. So we're just pulling off to the side. I'm sorry if I've missed any comments here. We are just kind of hanging out and cooking dinner at home here with Chef Anita in Nicaragua. Okay, so there we go. Boom. See that? Gorgeous. No? Yes, I think it is. I'm going to take care of this real quick. And like I've said before, when I clean a cutting board, I always flip it over. If there was any meat or chicken or anything on it, after I've washed it, to make sure there's no transfer of bacteria. I'm going to take a look at my bone marrow. Okay, so I had a question of, do you put any oil down with the bone marrow? Do you see that fat just kind of already in there? There's no need. There's no need to put any oil down. And if I had a grill, I would definitely be grilling that off. So that fat that is already extracted from that bone marrow, that's what I'm going to be using into this beef stew, this sancocho. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to put this little guy away. That was the other cut of beef here. But I'm looking what I have here, and I'm judging based on what my family is saying in the other room. I may actually go in and just grab another little chunk here. Because even though my daughter says, oh, I don't really want a lot, she'll smell it, she'll taste it, and then all of a sudden, I'm giving up my dinner. So there we go. Perfect. That's done. Now I gotta clean this again. And if you guys don't already know, if I haven't already said it like, I don't know, 3,000 times, I am in Nicaragua at the mercy of this little house that we're staying in. The next house we're going into has a grill and a beautiful, more modern kitchen, so I'll be able to bring you guys more recipes. Hello, Miss Creative Contour. Hi, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. Hi. Hi, hi. I don't even know how many people are viewing right now. I'm just literally talking to myself and having the best time. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I'm just gonna get going on the actual cooking. And what I realized here as we came in to the house is that for some reason I don't have any salt. Don't ask me why, but there's no salt here. So that made me a little nervous, but then I remembered that I have soy sauce. That's all you need. So whenever you think that something is going to be completely wrecked, okay, so that was about 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce, pure soy sauce. Oh my God, we got to go back into town. We got to get some new ingredients. You really don't. You really don't. So I just used soy sauce and some pepper here. The pan is going. And then you'll see how I'm going to use that bone marrow that's going into this beef stew, this sancocho. It's going to be amazing, guys. So I'm going to give that a toss. And again, I'm just going to take you through the steps of a sancocho, which is from Puerto Rico, but with Nica ingredients, and kind of showing you how it's just not a recipe, but it could become a recipe that you create for yourself at home. Thank you so much for the likes. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, baby, I know you need a distraction. I'm so happy I'm here for you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about your loss. I'm so sorry, honey. Your baby looks like my baby, so I get it. And it doesn't even matter if they look the same or not. I mean, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry. But I'm so happy that I'm here and you're here. So it's okay. It's okay. Cry all you want. We're here for you. Okay, here we go. So bone marrow has been roasted. It's been roasted about 2/3 of the way. That's a whole beautiful beef bone marrow. And like I said, typically I would just roast this all the way and then finish it in a pan with like some sort of a garlic herb butter. But today I'm utilizing this bone roasted with this fat into this beef stew, the sancocho that we're making. So I'm going to take, as my other guest here asked, do you need any oil? You don't. The bone marrow does the work. So I'm going to put that right in there. I'm going to leave the whole bone off to the side. I'm going to let that come up to temperature, and it should come up really quickly because I've been sitting here talking to you guys. And I explained, Miss Bree, that I have no salt. So I'm using soy as the salt element in this dish. We'll see how that goes. But I think it will work perfectly because I actually put it into the beef. So we'll see. Oh, noodle. Yes. Yeah, good trick, right? Most people would panic and they're like, oh my God, go get me more salt. Don't need it. So now we're going to separately sear off all the beef stew. The beef pieces, I should say. And they have the soy and pepper in it. And when you hear the sizzle kind of go down, I still have my earbuds in for whatever reason, I don't know why. But when you hear the sizzle kind of get muddled like that, give it a second. Just give it a minute, let the temperature come back up, and then continue. Turning off the oven because it is hot. It's already searing up beautifully, so I'm going to give that a turn. Beef fat heats up a lot quicker, so you don't really need a lot of time before the next step. There we go. I mean, that's at full heat. The sun is setting, and you can see that my face is being covered by the sunset. So we're just going to try and get through this part, so then I can let this go into a braise, and then I'll photograph. Bone marrow, I love bone marrow. Oh my God. I can't say it, but I love it. I usually just kind of spoon it onto a crostino, go to town. It turns out that bone marrow, even though it has a lot of calories in it, it is incredibly rich in collagen and the fat that you want for your body, for your liver, pancreas, digestive system, your skin. And what's funny is that my father in Puerto Rico, he taught us how to eat everything from the snout all the way down to the tail. So when people ask me what is your secret, I honestly now believe it's the fact that I ate everything. Even in chicken wings, the knuckles, everything. I'm sitting here cutting away the fat and the actual like silver skin in the meat, but back in Puerto Rico, we would just gnaw through that. And if you couldn't chew through it, you would just like eat it and put it aside. And I just feel like it's so incredibly important in health, actually. Yeah, you definitely should. It's absolutely delicious. So that first batch is done in this bone marrow. So I'm going to actually put it in the same pan as the bone marrow and go into the second batch. We're making a sancocho, if I didn't already say. Oops, wrong pan. It's a beef stew, but Puerto Rican style with some nica ingredients. So all of the fat in that pan right there, this pan right here, because you can't see, is actually bone marrow that's been roasted off. I should try and move this over. Wow, 1.2K likes. Thank you so much. Thank you. I knew I was supposed to come on earlier, but then we got distracted because we were watching the fight. That fight was amazing. Oh, thank you so much for the... Aw. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, I love that. Thank you for the sunflower. Thank you, sweetie. It's not necessary, honey. It's okay. I just want you to be here and have your mind on something else. Because honestly, I've been thinking about you, honestly. Like, I told you I was, and here I am, telling you it's true. So now all this juju back here, like all this juice that was marinating, we're gonna move forward with that. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I do the same thing. My daughter and I, whenever we watch our favorite content creators, our favorite part is literally, I'm trying to position you guys, our favorite part is literally sending gifts so that you can see our appreciation for what you do. So we love it. Like, she loves it. And she's like, oh my gosh, she said your name. I'm like, I know. Like, when they're live and they say your name, there's something so special about it. I just absolutely love it. And so does she. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so beef is searing beautifully with that bone marrow. Now, I mean, like you guys, I always go to grab it without a towel because I am a chef and my heat ability on my hands is different than others, but then I'm like, oh no, you should definitely show people that you need to be careful. So this is all the beef. I mean, like, I'm able to grab a pan straight out of the oven, no problem. But a lot of people cannot do that. So I want to make sure and show people that they need to use a towel or an oven mitt or something. Okay, so what did I just do there? Put the bone marrow in. We're going to marry the rest of that beef with all its juices. There we go. Now, I'm going to let that come up to temperature, and for some reason, I cannot get this phone in the right direction. People, there we go. I want you to see what I'm doing here because this is so incredibly special. So we have a whole bone marrow in there with our beef stew, meat, and which was a top sirloin. There comes Noodle. She's over here. She's right there on the stairs staring at me. Noodle, come down. Don't jump. This girl. And we're just going to let that come up to temperature. And then we're going to include our spices in the mirepoix, which is the celery, the garlic, or excuse me, not the garlic, the carrots, onions, and the ginger. We also have whole fresh ginger in here. So that soy that we had to put in there because I have no salt. Did not realize until the way end. Yes, Miss Princess Noodle. Noodle, come. Can you come down here? Can you come let people see you? She just got groomed. She looks amazing. She actually looks like a Yorkie for some reason. Okay. Actually, before that happens, I forgot to mention. Come on, baby. We have all these awkward little bottles of red wine. Like, we'll buy a bottle of red wine, have a couple of glasses, but then never finish it. And it sits in the fridge. Thank you. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know why we never finish a bottle. Like, I'll have a glass, he'll have a glass, and then, like, it just sits in the fridge. So I'm using all of this leftover wine that we clearly paid for in the beef stew. So I'm just going to let that temperature come up. I'm going to hit it with all of this wine. Now, you guys know I love to cook with wine and spirits. So letting that come up to temp. Now, so this is actually going to be a red wine braised beef stew, sancocho, or whatever you want to call it. But these are all Pinots. Always make sure you're using the same kind of wine before we do this. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So, with the soy, with the spice blend, with this beef, it's all gonna work. Sorry about the noise. So now, if you guys can maybe potentially see that over there, I don't know why I can't get this working properly. The bone marrow, the beef, the wine is now working here. But what I want to do is bring it up to a really, really hot temperature. So, because this guy was already in the oven, I'm going to put a cover on it. What is the best way to bring something up to a really high heat? Put a cover on it. I learned that really quickly when I was working at one of the restaurants that I trained at, and the chef was like, I need you to boil that in the next 5 minutes. And I was like, how do I do that? And he threw a sheet pan on top of it, and I was like, oh, got it. Like, you feel, you get humbled very quickly when you're working in a restaurant and you ask a question like that. In the meantime, I'm gonna slice some of these beautiful plum Roma tomatoes. So we're using fresh, and then also the tomato paste to make this sancocho, this beef stew. I love the combination, as I've said, of two. You can use canned tomatoes, you can use all fresh tomatoes, but when you use fresh tomatoes, it takes a lot more time for it to actually bring through that tomato flavor, because it has to cook down for more hours versus a couple of hours, which is what we're trying to do right now. So tomatoes cut. Daughter's over there like, yeah, really? So there we go. It is cubed. Boom. Ready. Thank you for the likes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. It does take a very strong person to survive the chef life. And a lot of people don't understand that, because you're going into a kitchen and it's a chef who has worked for 20 years or however many years, and they have built a routine, and you need to come in there and respect that, because it's what's making that restaurant work. It's what's making that restaurant successful. So when people would come into my restaurant, and even though I was way more easygoing than other chefs, it was really always interesting to me that people would always push back. It's my restaurant. I built it. It's my recipes. I understand you trained with blah, 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 but why did you leave that restaurant? Why are you here at this restaurant? I'll take your suggestions. I will definitely put menu items on, because it was never about, oh, you're this person. No. It was always about, oh, what do you have to offer? Oh, okay, how can we make that work in our menu? Being a chef takes more than just graduating from culinary school. So everyone out there, all the young chefs out there listening, please understand that you have to run your own ship. You have to run your own ship. Build your own menu. Have people listen to your ways before you are called chef. I would never call myself a chef. I've been a chef for 3 years out of all the years in my life. I have honestly owned a restaurant, and even while I owned that restaurant for 6 years, I've called myself a chef for 3. What does that tell you? So, and that's just the way that I was brought into the business. People can have their own views on it, they have their own expectations of it, so on and so forth. But seeing the chefs and working with the chefs that I worked with, I didn't feel worthy of the word until I was open for 3 years. After 3 years, I accepted the word chef. And I've been a cook for 13 years. So, yeah, but that's just my way. I came up through Chicago. It's very different there. You have to have a certain mentality. And, oh, thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you. You have to have a certain mentality for it and a certain gut, because they will break you down before they build you up. I was a different kind of chef. I wanted to just encourage everyone and have everybody come up at the same time, so there were no people left behind, no man left behind, no man down. But it is what it is. This is a lot of talking about other things other than this beef stew. So I appreciate the conversation because I absolutely love it. I love talking about the way that I came up being a chef and the success that I've had as a chef, being on the Food Network with Bobby Flay and working with chefs that most people go, wait, what? You know who they are? What? Yeah, I do. It's really special, and it's something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Okay, so if you notice there, I put half of my spice blend, which was here, into the beef stew, and now I'm putting in the mirepoix, which is the onion, the celery, the garlic, and, oh no, excuse me, not garlic, onion, celery, carrot, I keep wanting to say garlic, and ginger. That's all going in here. And we're going to let that go for a minute with our fresh tomato. Wow, this smells amazing. So now that that's going, and I don't have any salt, as I said, it's okay. We're just going to pour about 2.5 tablespoons of our tomato paste in there. And then we're going to take that leftover marinade with the soy. We're going to put that right over the top, just like that. And now we're going to cook all that in. If I can get my tongs to work with, it's okay, Noodle, get that. Noodle, mommy draft some vegetables. If you guys are just joining me, there is a giant piece of bone marrow in this. That's why it's difficult to turn this with a pair of tongs. I'm sure people are like, what's wrong with her? Like, why can't she like flip this over? This is why. Okay. I just want that tomato paste and the spices to get down to the bottom with that red wine and that beef. And it smells amazing. Now I'm going to take that same bowl that the beef was sitting in, that marinade, and I'm going to put, wow, 3,000 likes already? Come on, guys. Thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you. I'm going to put some water in here. And then we're just going to let that braise for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours maybe even. And we're going to thicken that up with a little cornstarch if we need to, but the pan, the way that it looks, so that was the same bowl that I had the marinade and the steak in. So, I mean, the reason why I talk about this is because I always talk about developing flavor from the bottom up. This is the way that you do that. The bowl had the soy, the pepper, and the steak in it. And the steak, of course, bleeds. And instead of going immediately and washing it off, I poured the marinade into the beef stew, the sancocho, and now I'm putting water in here with the same marinade, and now I'm going to pour that into the beef stew. So that's how you develop flavor. And that was the perfect amount. And now we're just going to let that cook way down for, like I said, 2.5, maybe 3 hours. I'll check it in an hour to see how it's doing, because this is a more of a shallow pan. It's probably not going to take as long. And the way that I cut that beef, and it being top sirloin, it doesn't take as long. So you definitely have to go back in, check it again, let it come up to temperature, let it come up to a boil, then bring it down to a simmer, skim off whatever fat is going on, but keep in mind that you have bone marrow in here. So that fat on this bone marrow and that roasted bone, this is just going to be magical. I can't wait to eat this. And my husband is sitting out there, Noodle's sitting up there, and my daughter's sitting out there, and they're just like, when is this going to be done? But we only just got started, so it's going to be a couple of hours from now. Thank you guys for joining me through these steps. Literally just going to let that sit exactly as it is. I'm going to put a cover on that. Cover. And that's just going to braise. That's it. And then about 35 minutes before it's done, I'm going to include the corn on the cob, and I'm going to include some yucca, taro root, whatever you guys want to call it. I'm going to include that into this, and then I'll photograph it and I'll post it. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm losing my light because Nicaragua, when the sun sets, that's pretty much your call time, unless you have a really beautiful light, and I don't. This is just sunset. But thank you so much for being here. A couple of you who have been here, thank you, sweetie. And my heart is with you, praying for you. Mwah. Can't wait to see you go live and return the favor, because you are amazing. You really are. Creative Contour. If you guys are not following her, please do, because this girl, she's amazing. And that last live that I sat through on Twitch with you and your mom, it was very touching. So thank you so much for joining today. I will come back to you live very soon. I'll definitely photograph this beautiful sancocho from here in Nicaragua with a little bit of Puerto Rican flair. And if you guys want to see what I'm up to, please check out my profile. You have all the information there. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Mwah. Ciao, ciao. Thank you for the support and the love, sweetie. Thank you. If I can click out, I will.